All right, Brad, just want to go over this real quick. So Bryce Young was on the Pivot, and he spoke about his bench. And I don't know if you had a chance to see this, but I thought this was pretty interesting. I'm going to play this real quick.
When you are told that Andy Dalton is going to be the starter and you're no longer the starter, what was that experience like for you, and what did you learn about yourself?
That was a place I'd never been at before. Obviously not something that I was, you're expecting. You never think, things could go that way, turn out that way. So, in the moment, obviously, it was a lot. It was hard. It was really difficult. At that time, obviously, you're working through the emotions in real time. And you're figuring out that night. Honestly, I drove around. I didn't want to go back home. I just drove for hours. And I didn't know where I was going. I put Atlanta in my GPS. I knew I wasn't gonna go all the way to Atlanta, but I was just I didn't know what was up, what was down in that time. And
hey, real quick, let me pause it. Two things funny about that. Number one, he said he drove for hours and put Atlanta in his GPS. Stands to reason that more than likely he was probably in my area, somewhere in the South Carolina, Greenville, Spartanburg, Anderson area, just kind of hanging out. Might even stopped and got some food somewhere or something. Who knows? Second thing, I do find it very, very ironic that he said he put Atlanta. This is why. See, this clips like this, Brad, are what I say for people like. There's this one guy on X or Twitter, Avian. I'm sure that if you're on Twitter, you know who this guy is. He might even be watching right now in the QAnons for all I know, and he might try to start flaming me as a result. But this guy is he's a Falcons fan, always talking junk about the Panthers. I'm talking all season, off season. He talk about us more than he talk about the Falcons, right? But I'm like, I love this because bruh literally set his future into motion. He put Atlanta in his GPS, and since he came back, y'all ain't beat him since. And boy, I love it.
as I was driving, trying to clear my mind, I made a conscious decision to challenge myself to be as consistent as I could be during that time and to grow from it. And that was hard. I had a lot of, I'm human. I was upset, I was confused, I was mad at myself, mad at other, whatever, I had those emotions. And at that time, I'm like, one, I want to challenge myself to be the same person. I don't want this to change my personality. I don't want to show up to work with bad energy. I don't want to be a bad teammate. I don't want to be I was I'm gonna be very conscious to be the same person, to be kind to everyone. I'll be honest, I'm not the best texter. I'm not great at that. For good games, bad games, everyone know how, you get a bunch of texts, and sometimes I'm not always the best at and at really bad moments, I'm really not the best at returning those texts. Most of the time I don't want to see it. Most of the time I'm just all right, how I'm gonna figure this out by myself. And a bunch of people obviously reached out and texted and showed support, which I was super grateful for. And I was it probably wasn't that day, but maybe it was the next day. I was I'm gonna text everyone back. I'm going to be, and I'm gonna, I'm gonna say thank you. I'm gonna I'm gonna interact with people in the same way. That was one of the first steps. And then also faith-wise, it was really big for me. I've always been a believer. I've always, had faith. I've always had, walk with God. But I think that it was a blessing to be able to have to experience it. As far as football goes, I've been very blessed career-wise up until, at that point, it was it was kind of all positive. And then, it took a quick turn. And I'd always, I trust in God, I believe, whatever it is, I always give it up to him. But that was one of the first times in a professional sense that I had no choice. And, I think that wasn't an accident. I think God put me there to know that the faith is real, for me to strengthen my faith, really for me to be able to experience God in a different way. For me, I was super grateful that I am super grateful for that.
Hold up.
Man, look. Salute to BY, man. I love it. I love it. And, I talk about this often. I love people who are resilient. I love it, man. This is what you want. There was a conversation that went on about Bryce last week. And Brad, if you have to go, I understand, because I know you got, other stuff that you need to do. Because I do got one other thing I'm going to get to before I close out. But a conversation that we'll, reference here in just a few moments. But man, when you don't have nothing else, all you have, when you have everything, the Bible tells us whether we eat or drink or whatever we do, to do it unto the glory of the Lord, right? So when I got everything, I got him. When I got nothing, I got him, right? And you got to lean on that in those times, because it'll help you to be able to centrally focus. Because if you go on and do what a lot of people would do, both young and old these days, and like, entrench yourself in social media. Let's go see what the world is saying about this. Let's see how they feel about it. Oh my Lord. I'm the worst person on earth. Or I can do no wrong, right? It's going to be one or the other. I love that there was a couple of things that he said in there that I really appreciated, right? One, he was open and vulnerable about being mad. He said, I was mad at, the situation. Like, I was mad about being benched, but I was also mad at, he kind of stopped himself. And he was probably talking about Canales and, whoever else was, had a hand in the benching. I have said before that I think that when you look at the events and how they happen, Dave Canales gets up after the Charger game and says that Bryce is our quarterback. He's pretty adamant about it in the press conference, only to come back on the Monday presser later that, some 24 hours later, or if that, and say that we're going with Andy Dalton, that we're benching Bryce, right? And I think that part of that might have been a charge led by guys like Deontay Johnson, Adam Thielen, some of these receivers, right, that went in and was like, hey, man, like, if you don't – look, I remember the play where I actually clipped this myself where Adam Thielen was wide open, and I think Bryce just didn't look at him, or the play wasn't necessarily designed to go to him, whatever it was. And he's walking down the sideline, and he is pissed. Helmet flies off. He's yelling. He's cussing. Not Adam Thielen-like at all, right? And I'm like, oh, man, please don't lose the locker room. And, boy, what happened? Young coach Dave Canales makes a decision, flops on that decision, and says, you know what, we got to bench him, because if I don't, this thing's going to get real ugly. And I think it helped him tremendously. So he was vulnerable enough to say, you know what, I was mad. But then the other thing I really love that he did, all those people that thought enough of me to text me and say, hey, man, don't worry about it. It's going to be okay. Keep your faith. Keep your head. You're talented. You're going to figure this out. Take some time. Use this. Like, look, there's so many different things that Carolina has to do in your favor, and then there's stuff that they're not going to do. Let's start with the things that they're not going to do. They're not going to trade their first overall pick a year after he gets drafted. That's not happening. Even though there's mad teams calling, mad teams offering deals, all this kind of stuff. Hey, you can kick rocks. We're not trading them, right? Even if the benching lasts the whole year, you're going to see this kid again. So don't worry about that. Here's another thing. Andy Dalton is not a long-term solution. So don't worry about that either. And they're not going to go draft another quarterback with you being on the roster. Now, if they do, that means that you'll probably get a chance somewhere else, right? But here's what is going to happen. You're going to get a chance to reflect, slow down, and breathe. You had a rough summer because Tyrese Maxey and your girlfriend were seen on camera together. You had a rough, even rougher summer because the first play from scrimmage against the Saints, you threw a pick. So there's a lot going on here. Take this time to reflect. Understand who you are. Remember what you've done, and then come back. And then we saw the results. So I'm glad that he thought enough of those people and to not sulk long enough to reach out to those people that reached out to him and be like, hey, man, I appreciate it. Appreciate you. That says a lot because he didn't have to do that, right? And more importantly, I'm glad that it created a model of consistency that started to show itself a little bit better this year than it was last year. And what's my argument been with Bryce this whole time? Just steady the ship, bro. Like, look, we know what you are. At this point, we are very familiar with your limitations. We know what you can and can't do. I think there's another level you can push it to after what I saw you do against Atlanta, what I saw you do against the Cowboys, what I saw you do against the Cardinals, even in a loss. But, hey, man, keep pushing it. They'll keep building around you. Push it to another limit. This is your team now, right? But even if it doesn't become some super great, like, franchise-altering quarterback thing, you will be known as the person who steadied the ship from this thing sinking and falling apart to potential greatness and sustained success throughout the future. And you'll always be celebrated for that. Anytime you bring up Patrick Mahomes' name, you can't bring it up without Alex Smith because you sat behind him for an entire year in limited action to learn just the basics of how to stand behind center because you come out of a shotgun offense. So Pat himself honors you. The Kansas City conglomerate. I think even the first year that they won the ring, they gave him an honorary ring, but because of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, now, would I have wanted that? Probably not. But the point stands. Is like guys that do that kind of stuff, hey, You did the same thing in San Francisco. Colin Kaepernick was a much superior athlete. He took over. They got to NFC Championship, Super Bowl, all that kind of stuff. But they couldn't have done that without you, Smitty. And you were a first overall pick. And you came to a bad situation. And you had bad coach after bad coach until you finally landed on Jim Harbaugh. Alex Smith was seen wearing a tag when they started winning. They were on like a 3-game winning streak. And Alex Smith went to a press conference with a tag that said, "Hello, my name is Alex." Because everybody done forgot about me. Y'all remember? Same Aaron Rodgers and Ben Roethlisberger draft. I was the one that was actually picked first. It was me. Remember that? People like, man, what the hell are you talking about? When? But yeah, I was picked first. And my resiliency allowed me to continue to keep playing. And eventually, I led to more great sustained success, for the team. I can rest my hat on that. So, yeah. Will we look back at, 10, 20 years from now and say, man, that Bryce Young trade was atrocious? Some of us will, because some of us will never get over it because it didn't result in, maybe the type of wins that they felt like it could. For me, if it steadies the ship, it was worth it. So salute to Bryce Young. Appreciate your contributions, man. Keep going.